Namaste. Many experience disconnection in life, especially in a spiritual awakening process. It is more observed by us. We are in constant anxiety or issues with mother, how we were brought up, our childhood, the traumas that are linked to mother. They all get exaggerated in a spiritual awakening process. It can keep one in anxiety for many years, whether they're aware of it or no. Their conscious or unconscious choices in life are driven by these anxious inner workings of the mind. They experience isolation, trauma, disconnection, feeling lost in life, a lot of pain. Many of these memories keep resurfacing, and in some cases of spiritual awakening, pain can be a normal part of the process, or it can be the driving force for a spiritual awakening process. So let us understand why this happens. At a higher level, we can feel a release from this inner torment when we understand that the inner chemical change and how we can transcend from this permanently happens when we make a shift in our connection from our birth mother to Mother Earth. So, how does this happen in a spiritual awakening process? Is what I'm going to talk about, and how this affects our grounding in the process. Many, especially those who have experienced childhood trauma, where they could not connect with their mother. They could not connect with their mother either because the mother was not available, the mother passed away, the mother neglected the child, the bond did not get formed when the child was young. The mother was abusive, she sabotaged the all the future prospects of the child. She put the child to unnecessary risk, emotionally blackmailed, guilt tripped the child, controlled the child, exploited the child. The child's basic needs were not met. The child did not feel safe. The mother was over controlling, demanding. She tried to use all her energy to destroy the child spiritually. She used and abused the child, shamed the child. So the mother, because the child is helpless, she is in a position to ill treat the child, and the child cannot do anything about it. So the child feels very unsafe. The very foundation of the child is laid on a shaky ground. And because it is laid on a shaky ground, that shaky ground keeps the child anxious even when the child grows up into an adult. Because the foundation is shaky, they're caught up in anxiety. Some are aware of it, some are not aware of it. The anxiety is there in the background, and it is leading to a different types of behavioral patterns that the child exhibits as an adult in the external world. Sometimes these behaviors can be self-sabotaging, sometimes they can be too many behaviors which are associated with addictions, with risks. They hate women. They can be people pleasers, or on other hand, they can be very aggressive. They can get triggered easily by small things, especially those which are associated with mother and women. They can use and abuse women. They can hate themselves. So there are many different types of behaviors through which this inner anxiety gets externally expressed. Even as an adult, they can feel lost, disconnected. They don't understand life. They don't see any point in life, or they don't value themselves. They can uh, self sabotage their own future. They can refuse a beautiful relationship of love because they feel they are not worthy of it. They don't take care of themselves. So there are many different ways through which this inner anxiety gets expressed when that person becomes an adult, but the person is not aware that all these external display of behaviors are linked to the fact that That person did not feel safe as a child, and the foundation is built on a shaky ground. So, few of them are star seeds. That is, their origin is from some other dimension which is beyond Earth. They're born on Earth, and when they're born into a family, they're not aware of the fact that they're star seeds. But as they age, they feel a kind of a disconnection from their family. They feel lonely, they feel cast off, and they feel like they don't belong to Earth. And even though they have a healthy upbringing, they still do not feel that connection. And as they age, they realize that at some point, because they undergo spiritual awakening, at some point they realize that they are of a different origin and the birth family is not their real family. So here a person can feel a disconnection, feel the sense of loss, feel out of place, not grounded, inability to connect. They can feel lonely or they prefer to be lonely. They can have trust issues, and they cannot even bond properly with their love partner. They cannot open up and share. They can they can be a tendency to take more risks in life than necessary. They can be reckless. They can even be suicidal, depressed, or they may show no interest in living a healthy and happy life. And all this because of the shaky foundation, or because they were as such not of earthly origin. This can create an inner alchemy where oxytocin is not properly produced. So what is oxytocin? Oxytocin is a hormone which is produced by hypothalamus. It is here. Now, this is a love hormone, or it is a social bonding hormone. When the mother begets a child, during the birth pangs, she experiences the release of oxytocin, and even the child who is born releases oxytocin when the child is drinking from the mother. So, the mother and child, because they're releasing oxytocin, they form a bond of love, where they feel connected to each other. They feel safe with each other. And even in love relationships, when the initial attraction fades away, if that couple does not develop or is not able to produce oxytocin in their body, that attraction will not become deep love. If both produce oxytocin, it becomes deep love. But only if one partner is producing oxytocin and the other one is not producing oxytocin, because they're very shallow, they don't care much about deeper emotions. The one producing oxytocin gets attached to the other person, and they create a trauma bond because the other person takes advantage of this person's love, and they want to control and abuse them. So it becomes a trauma bonding there. So oxytocin is what gives us the feeling of belonging to a place, belonging to a community, a family, uh, the sense of identification with the body. And especially when you're well grounded, even at a higher spiritual awakening, you realize though that you're not the body, but you can still ground yourself in the body. And such people, when they're spiritually awakened, they have this peaceful aura around them. They understand that the body is not them. They understand that they exist beyond the body and mind, but they still value the body because it gives them the human experience, and they're well grounded in the body. They do not feel like they don't belong here, or they do not feel like they're out of place. This will happen with everybody who's having a spiritual awakening process. Once they reach a point where they have grounded themselves, that is where they experience this. But until that point, they might feel they are not grounded in the spiritual awakening process. So what happens when there is lack of oxytocin or improper levels of oxytocin in the body? The person will always feel anxious, even though they are not familiar of their anxiety at the surface level. It is there, it is driving their life, and it is pushing them into all wrong directions. They are not grounded, they don't feel safe, they feel out of place where they are, they feel disconnected from life, lost, confused. They have trust issues, they cannot connect with anybody, they do not see value in life, they do not experience love based bonds. And then they have this inner voice in their head. This voice, when the person grows into adulthood, the voice which is critical in nature and which keeps on repeating the same thoughts, the same emotions, the same uh, experiences as memories. They are repeated internally. They're continuously repeated, and the same dysfunctional idea or belief is again rooted in the person's mind. So, where when the mother neglects the child may feel that he is unworthy of love and hence he cannot connect with anybody. As he grows into adulthood or as she comes into adulthood, that voice is still there. It is still telling that person that they're unworthy of love. And that is why their mother hated them. And that dysfunctional idea or that belief, it spills into their relationships. They sabotage their own relationships. They can refuse good people who genuinely love them because they themselves feel that they're not worthy of love. In a way, these dysfunctional ideas, they do not allow us to bond or connect with another person. And this critical inner voice keeps on going continuously. It is a kind of a self-hatred, and that increases the anxiety levels in the person. It increases the aggression, the reactivity in the person, and the person is not able to understand how to cope with this inner voice, how to get out of it. It's like they are caught up in some freeze zone and they're not able to find their way out. That is how it is experienced. So in the spiritual awakening process, especially for those who have advanced a little in spiritual awakening, the subconscious mind opens up. What is the subconscious mind? Our mind has layers to it. Everybody generally lives from the conscious level, the wakeful state. Many are not aware of the ideas, the thoughts, the beliefs, the emotions, the fears, the desires we hold at a deeper layer, and this is locked in the subconscious mind. In the spiritual awakening process, the subconscious mind opens up. So, all that is hidden now starts getting revealed to us. So, the inner alchemy is happening. The inner alchemy, it exaggerates the emotions we experience because there is a flux of hormones in our body. So every emotion is experienced in a wider range than a normal person. The intensity is high. When you love, you fall deeply in love. When you fear, that fear is at its extreme. So everything is exaggerated here. In such an exaggeration, when the deeper layers of the mind are opening up, everything that was repressed, suppressed into the subconscious mind starts coming out. And then we come face to face with our fears. We come face to face with our dysfunctional ideas, the beliefs we hold, and the external reality also. Your life also is holding a mirror to your inner dysfunctional ideas and beliefs. The external circumstances also in the life somehow they are working for us to release our fears, our ideas, and it is holding a mirror to our subconscious mind, the kind of uh, triggers we have, the kind of pain we have, the kind of fears we have, everything is being shown to us so that we can heal from it. Now, when we are in such a scenario, and if there's somebody who has had issues with their mother, even those who have had cesarean births, generally what happens is when the mother gives birth naturally, the mother's body is producing oxytocin, the child's body is producing oxytocin. But when it is a C section, the mother does not experience much oxytocin, and the child too is not able to bond with the mother properly. So even in C-section deliveries, the mother also can have low oxytocin levels, because of which the child cannot bond with their primary caretaker. So the very foundation is based on the shaky ground. In a spiritual awakening process, you cannot run away from all these things. They are shown to you. You have to face the inner issues you have. So if you have trauma in childhood, it could be mental abuse, physical abuse, financial abuse. You may have felt unsafe. This can lead to, in your adulthood, it can lead to, we're trying to cover up the trauma by seeking some temporary relief like addictions, or it could be people pleasing behaviors, or it could be high risk behaviors, because we do not care much about our life. We don't value ourselves much because our mother did not. So we can sabotage our future, or we can neglect ourselves. We might feel our needs are not important. We might take high risk decisions in life. We can go into methods which are self destructive in nature, and or we can put ourselves into situations where there is risk and we do nothing to protect ourselves. If there's somebody who is unnecessarily abusing you, you will not do anything about it, because you, as such, your mother never came to your aid. So you will be just standing there and watching that person abusing you, and you will be trying to process the information, but you don't know how to process it, because you're in that state of freeze which you experienced when your mother was abusing you. And because of that, you're not able to respect yourself. So everything is interlinked here. Many such men, when they grow up, who have been neglected by their mother, deprived of things by their mother, they grow up to hate women. And that spills into their relationship with women. They hate their partner. When they see their mother and their partner, they don't want that partner. The person can become highly aggressive, they can be very anxious. General state can be anxiety. Here, they can be people pleasing, trying to drown in the external world so that they don't have to look within. Or, on the other hand, on the other extreme, at one point in life, they might get fed up of everybody. They might cut their ties with everybody and prefer to live alone. And if you're a star seed, please understand that because you're from a dimension that is different from Earth, you came onto Earth, and as a natural part of the process, many star seeds have a spiritual awakening process. When this process unfolds in their body, they realize that that disconnection which they felt with their family when they were growing up, even when they had good parents, it is because they were never from Earth. And that memory is still there, and the subconscious mind opens up. You know why you could not identify with the family, or why you could not ground yourself. So because of all these things, these individuals have an issue that they are not grounded. And when you're not grounded, you're not at peace, you're not calm, It feels like your system is on an overdrive. And as the spiritual awakening process flows forward, at some point, because of the inner balance coming back because of various sadhanas you do, you will see that at some point you will ground yourself. Even star seed will start grounding themselves, and they will make a connection with earth, and then they are able to ground themselves in this physical body. And all those behaviors which I was talking about earlier, all those behaviors are done with. Now this person is only expressing their authentic self. So many of these dysfunctional behaviors will not be there in that person's life, as that person has worked through all of them. Now, we all are aware of the main three channels in our body, which are there along the spine. The central spine is the Sushumna Nadi. On the right side is the Pingala Nadi. It starts at the base on the right hand side. It crisscrosses on the spine. It comes on the right side here and ends here. And then on the left side is the Ida Nadi. It starts at the base of the spine. This is also crisscrossing, and then it is coming on the left side and stopping here. So these two nadis, they meet at this region. Now these two nadis, the left side, it represents your parasympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic nervous system is the rest and digest system. That is when it is digesting food or when you are in a restful state, the parasympathetic nervous system is running your body. And when you are working externally, the fight and flight mechanism, then the sympathetic nervous system is working. So the Ida Nadi represents your mother and the Pingala Nadi represents your father. In the process, due to sadhana, we achieve a state of balance between the Ida and the Pingala Nadi. When this happens, the Ida and Pingala flow nicely, and wherever they are meeting, the chakra points. In the picture here, you can see the points where the Ida and Pingala are meeting along the spine. On these points, you have the chakras forming. And the more balanced the left and right side of the body become, the more the chakra comes into unison on both sides. It sort of comes together and it works correctly. You will experience the rotation of the chakra. But when we are caught up in anxiety, in trauma, in pain, this is not happening. That is, the Ida and Pingala are not working in a balanced way in the body. And hence we can get caught up in trauma, in pain, or in fight and flight mechanism, or in stress. And we don't know how to come out of it. Now, the autonomic nervous system, this is under what the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems work. That is, the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems, they work under the autonomic nervous system. Now, the autonomic nervous system, this is related to all those involuntary processes in your body which happen beyond your control. For example, you're sleeping. When you sleep, you breathe. You are not making the conscious effort to breathe when you are asleep. Your body is doing it. So, this respiratory activity is happening beyond your control. So, this is happening under the guidance of the autonomic nervous system, or your blood pressure, your heartbeat, uh, the respiration, digestion, all these things which you cannot control, which are happening on their own, they all come under the autonomic nervous system. So when the Ida and Pingala nadis they balance and they're working properly, the autonomic nervous system also comes into balance. When this is working properly, the balance in the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems can bring us into a healthy state of being. And this uh, sort of it coincides with uh, the proper release of oxytocin in our body. And when the levels of oxytocin in our body produces, right? We feel grounded, we feel peaceful, we feel calm. You must have seen some people who are very spiritually awakened. At a higher level, you can see that there is a kind of serenity around them, a kind of calmness, a kind of groundedness which is there along with the inner wisdom. They don't feel or they don't seem to be lost in life. They don't look confused. There's a lot of high mental clarity. They know. They know themselves, they understand the external world, they are well grounded, well rooted. They were not like that when they were undergoing the process, but at a point in the process, at a higher level, you will ground yourself again. But you will ground yourself differently. When we were caught up in the lower ego, our primary attachment is with the mother. Especially as a child, you are more attached or connected to your mother. And even in the womb, we are connected to the mother through the cord, the umbilical cord. So that cord is still there. When the child comes out, the cord is just invisible. But then the connection with the mother becomes the source of the sense of security, a sense of self that the child feels. Because when the child is not yet come of age, they are looking at the world through their mother and father's eyes. So their connection with their family, their parents, is what gives them the sense of safety and sense of belonging. And if this is not well formed, then there can be this sense of disconnection. But in the spiritual awakening process, we experience a more exaggerated sense of disconnection, exaggerated sense of feeling lost, exaggerated sense of being out of place. You don't fit in any groups, in any circle, in any family situation. You feel like you are the pariah there, the outcast. You know that you think differently, you know that you are different. And this sense of separation gets highlighted when we are having a spiritual awakening process because we are coming out of the lower ego. The lower ego is what attaches you with your birth family. And the attachment comes from the reason that you were born in that family or you have taken on some belief systems, some cultural conditioning. All these things have gone into defining you and creating a personality for you. But spiritual awakening is walking away from all these things. While you're walking away, when you understand that these are karmic connections and none of this is your true self, everything is a false facade. When you realize that, and when you're taking that bold step away towards your authentic self, during that zone or phase, you can feel lost, you can feel disconnected. And it can be very painful because during this phase, many of your inner insecurities, your inner lacuna, your inner disconnection from mother, the painful, stressful situations you faced, all those things which you wanted to control and could not, all those things are coming back to you. And you have to work your way through all these emotions, through this chaos. And once you have done that, that anxiety which kept you in the lower vibrational states slowly starts wearing off. All those behaviors which you exhibited because of that constant inner anxiety, they seem to be fading away from you. Now you have discovered your true authentic self. You know yourself now. At that higher level, you're more grounded because you have understood yourself. And at that high level, your inner alchemy is different. With the higher understanding and awareness, you are producing oxytocin, but this oxytocin is now grounding you to Mother Earth. Mother Earth is everybody's mother. She is even the mother of your mother and grandmother. So she is the biggest mother. And here now you're grounding with the bigger mother. Even for those people who are still disconnected, feel cast away in this process, if they need to be connected to something, then it is the Mother Earth. When they do that, that inner emptiness, because we could not connect with a birth mother, it gets healed. It gets healed very quickly because Mother Earth can heal you. And how does that happen is what I'm going to talk now in the video. So this is our Muladhara Chakra. The Muladhara Chakra is the presiding deity is Ganesha. Ganesha is called Prasanna Vadana. Prasanna means pleasant and Vadana is the appearance or the physical appearance. So he is having a pleasant appearance. And the reason why he has a pleasant appearance is because he is grounded. Even praying to Ganesha, especially children, when they can start talking, they should be taught Ganesh mantras because this will allow them to connect with earth. It gives them a sense of safety, a sense of calmness, a sense of belonging. Even if they are the anxious type and because of their past life traumas, that they're still holding that anxiety in their system, the prayer to Ganesha will help them to ground to earth and relax. They can connect better with their parents. So the Muladhara Chakra, it represents your grounding, your connection to earth, feeling of safety. If you don't feel safe, you will not want to live on earth. Especially the star seeds who come from higher dimensions, they find it very difficult. They find the earth's energy is very dense. They feel that they cannot withstand these densities. They want to escape from earth, but then their life is still going on earth. And that simply means that they need to balance their inner sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system so that they can again reconnect to earth at a higher level. Though at the lower level you feel disconnected from earth, you can still connect to it at a higher level. We all have to understand that because when we do that at a higher level, we feel this sense of belonging to earth. We feel like our needs are met. We are at peace with ourselves. We are safe. We are healed. So the energy of earth can transform us. And especially here, the hormone oxytocin is what helps us to experience all these things. And then what is happening here is the inner critical voice, which was constantly nagging us inside, it was sort of reinforcing the ideas, dysfunctional ideas. It was constantly telling us you're not worth it, nobody will love you, you are a disappointment. The inner critical voice suddenly vanishes when the oxytocin is produced properly in your body. When that inner anxiety, hidden anxiety in the body leaves the body because oxytocin is produced properly, because you have worked through all your pain and trauma, you have healed yourself, you will notice that the voice vanishes. Because the voice was a false construct. It was just the lack of oxytocin, not feeling safe, not feeling loved. That is what produced that voice. So that voice itself is a false construct. And the moment the right amount of hormone is produced in your body, a balance is there, suddenly you will start feeling love for a lot of things. Not the love which has expectations or conditions. This is the kind of love that you feel in general for humanity. There is compassion. You understand humanity better now. You understand Earth's life better now. You want to uplift everything around you. You do something to help Earth to heal. Maybe you're an environmentalist. Maybe you're fighting for a cause. or maybe you're doing something to raise the consciousness of earth. You are trying in your own way to make earth better. So when you connect with the earth at a higher level, you are grounded. And here, Mother Earth replaces your birth mother. Your connection, you feel it for the humanity, for the stars, for the planets, and then Mother Earth. So you're operating from a higher level of consciousness here. This love is unconditional. There is no attachment in this. It is just knowing that you are a speck in this vast universe that is there, and you are connected to everything. So oxytocin at this level, it makes you feel safe, it makes you feel connected to everything. And this connection does not create a lower egoic structure within you. In fact, it releases you from all lower egoic conditioning, desires, expectations, or even identifications. Now, we have something called the heart rate variability. So, what is this heart rate variability? The heart rate variability can be measured by ECG or EKG, and this refers to the fluctuations in the time between two consecutive heartbeats. So, in the picture here, the straight lines that you see are the point in time where the heart is beating. So, the length of time between two heartbeats is being shown here. So there are about 6 heartbeats measured here. And when the time length between two heartbeats is wider or far, say for example, it can be 6 milliseconds, it can be 10 milliseconds. So 10 milliseconds is better than 6 milliseconds. When it is 6 milliseconds, the heartbeats are closer. But when it 10 milliseconds, the heartbeat is far apart. So if the time frame between two consecutive heartbeats is far apart and it is maintained like that, it simply means that you have a high heart rate variability. And when somebody has a high heart rate variability, they are at peace, they are grounded, because in them, what is happening is the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, they are in balance. And because they're in balance, they do not have the anxiety inside. They are very calm, grounded, and they are living life as it comes. They're in acceptance of life. So what is happening here is, if the variability is less or low, then what happens is the frustration is high, which you can see marked as red lines here, red graph rather. And on the right side, you can see that when the heart rate variability is healthy, the person shifts. There's a general shift in the way we see life. We start appreciating life. We have a lot of gratitude for life. We feel connected to everything, because here the oxytocin is being produced well. Many hormones are produced in our body to experience a certain emotion and to keep it. But here, because we're talking about oxytocin and because it is about grounding, I'm talking more about oxytocin. Here, because the heart rate variability is high, the person is able to live a healthy life, is able to socially bond, there is better stress regulation, good physical, mental health. They don't feel triggered, threatened, or anxious constantly. Even if they do get triggered, it's just for, you know, a little small amount of time, then they again regain their normalcy. They don't take anything personally. So, as I said earlier, many spiritually awakened souls, you will see that calm sense of serenity around them. And that is because they have connected to Mother Earth at a higher level. So, during the process itself, inner change is happening And we do some things consciously, we do some things unconsciously, as part of a sadhana, and we do reach that level. So the very good thing that we can do to ourselves here is a daily practice of deep belly breathing. When you are in the idle space, when you have time, or when even when you're doing some work, if you have the time to focus on your breath while doing work, deep belly breathing into your belly and do it consciously, you are creating an inner state within your body to balance the parasympathetic and sympathetic uh, nervous systems of your body. And when you do that, there is a inner balance happening, and this can help you cope with anxiety or come out of anxiety completely. So things you can do here is first try to understand what are the behaviors that you're exhibiting because of childhood trauma. Understand that none of these behaviors are your authentic self. For example, if you are a people pleaser, please understand that you are being doing this because as a child you had to please your mother so that your mother would not abuse you. You were just hanging around her, smiling to her because you didn't want to get abused by her. So this is a behavior which you have taken on, and it is not your real behavior. So such behaviors you have to do away with. Mindful meditation will bring you back into the present moment, making a connection with earth, because especially when you have these issues with earth, mother earth can give you that energy which you get from a loving mother. So spend a lot of time in nature, walk barefoot, eat vegetables which are basically root vegetables which are cultivated underneath the soil. Then use your hands uh, um, in gardening, work with plants, animals too. When you are living with animals, when you're sharing your love with animals, and even babies or children, when you are spending time with them, the oxytocin is getting released in your body because you're nurturing here. When you're in your nurturing mode, you're producing oxytocin in your body. And this allows you to heal faster. And the other thing is to stay away from addictions. Anything which is fear based. Nowadays, news has too many sensational things, or too many fear based things, or too many attractions that are there online. Stay away from all those things. Life which is simple, and even if it is a little boring, I guess you can make it interesting by reading the right books, doing the right spiritual practices, but that life is always better if you want to connect with your authentic self, if you want to ground yourself, and then do your inner work. All these things, if you can do breath work, you can do yoga, anything, all these things will help to heal your inner anxiety. As I said, earth can help us to heal. When we can connect to earth's rhythms, we can connect to earth's rhythms when we are producing, or when our heart rate variability can connect to mother earth's heartbeat. This is called the Schumann resonance. So they are the set of electromagnetic waves in earth's atmosphere, and they get formed all over earth because of the lightning and thunderstorms that hits earth on in various places. And when the wavelength of these waves it matches the circumference of earth, it creates a standing wave pattern which is called the Schumann resonance, and the frequency of this is 7.83 hertz. So this is called the heartbeat of earth. And When we can bring our natural brain wave frequency to this frequency, we can connect to Mother Earth. In the spiritual awakening or Kundalini awakening process, the root chakra opens up. In my own experience, mine is a Kundalini awakening, the four petals of the Muladhara chakra opened up and they just fell like that in four directions. In the uh, place of the root chakra, they just opened up and they just fell like this, four of them. And that is when I felt totally connected. I felt this connection, and suddenly I was telling myself, my mother is Mother Earth. The shift in consciousness, though I have my original birth mother, suddenly I had this connection. I could feel that connection happening within me with Mother Earth. I started appreciating the presence, the beauty, the value she offers to me in my life. So, what exactly happens here is when you're having a spiritual awakening process, the brain waves in our brain, a brain produces brain waves depending on the state of the activity we are in. So, when we are in these deep meditative states or these states where we are trying to understand ourselves, we are inquiring, we are questioning ourselves, sometimes in these deep states, we experience a kind of a sleepy, drowsy state. In that drowsy state, you are still constantly thinking and you're trying to process a lot of information. That is the theta wave state. And in my experience, theta wave state is actually where a lot of material that is there in the subconscious mind is coming out to be healed. You are addressing those issues, and in a way, at least at some level you are trying to heal through those issues and release those issues, and this can go on for many years. In a spiritual awakening process, it depends on how much karma you hold, how much healing you need. So it is not the same for every person. For some it may go on for years together, for some it may be just few years of processing could be enough for healing themselves. So here you're in the theta wave system. So once you have worked through all your past and you've healed yourself, you have this sense of freedom. You have come out of the identity of the lower self, at least to some extent. Then you will notice that you're producing, or the brain is producing alpha waves. That is, these are waves which keep you active in the external world, but again, you're in a relaxed state. You don't get triggered easily here. You can see that you're very relaxed, calm. There's a calm energy that is there around you. And when you're working from this level and continuously work at this level, your heart rate variability will be high. That is, the amount of time between two consecutive heartbeats will be larger than in a normal person. And because the alpha wave brain frequency is in and around 7 hertz frequency, which is somewhat similar to Earth's Schumann resonance frequency, there is a connection that happens with Mother Earth. And then you feel like you have found the mother which you have lost. You feel at home. You feel grounded. Your body, which suffered from anxiety for years together, calms down suddenly. You are now connected to Earth and you heal. And thereafter, even you experience stress in your life because you're already grounded and connected to Mother Earth, the stress does not stay in you. It just falls off your system. That is the benefit or the love of Mother Earth that is flowing through you. It is not just Mother Earth. In the process, we feel connected to the entire universe. We feel connected to humanity at large. Your love will not be limited to one person. It will be there for the humanity at large. So this is how you connect to Mother Earth. I've given you these various exercises through which you can reclaim your sense of calm, your sense of peace, your sense of stability and security by connecting with your mother, everybody's mother, Mother Earth. Namaste.